Hi, this is Mike, and welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes of Fantasy Sports. So, today I want to kind of pull back the reins a little bit, and I want to talk draft strategy. I know it's kind of silly to do when we're already in week 9, but um, the tip for today is take a look at your league settings. So, I'm in Yahoo Fantasy, so I clicked on my league and I went over to settings. You can also get there on the app. If you're at the app, you can go to the app and you can go down to where it says league, and then on the top right it says settings, and you want to click league settings. And what you're looking for when you go to league settings is you want to see how you're going to get points, and you want to look for positional advantages, I call them. So for this league, if you scroll down to the bottom, it tells you the positions. You need to know the roster positions. So this is a one quarterback league, two wide receivers, two running backs, one tight end, and then the flex is a wide receiver or a tight end. And then there's a kicker, defense, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bench spots. So that's a total. I didn't add them up, but 6 bench, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you got 15 spots and 10 or 9 starting spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 starting spots. But what you want to look at are the points. So in this league, passing touchdowns, which I think is standard, it actually shows you the standard, the Yahoo default. If it's different than the Yahoo default, it'll show you over here. So interceptions is -2, so you want a quarterback who doesn't throw interceptions if possible. The Yahoo default is -1. So this league is pretty standard. We do half a point for reception. Some leagues do full point. Some leagues do 0 points per reception. So that weights it a little stronger towards wide receivers, or I should say pass catchers, because running backs can also catch passes. The difference is kickers. So Yahoo default puts kickers a lot higher, but I've been in this league for a long time, and people got upset one year, actually multiple years, about the fact that kickers were swinging matchups like 15 points for kickers sometimes. So what they did is they lowered the default value to make kickers less valuable. So the other changes are defenses are a little more valuable. A safety gets you 4 points instead of 2. If you shut the team out, you get 15 instead of 10, and it kind of goes down from there. And there's no negative points. Oh, there are negative points here. Yahoo doesn't do negative point. Oh no, that is the default. Sorry, I'm misspeaking a lot right now. But anyway, what you want to look for, and this is what I did for my draft, is I looked for positional advantages. So there's really only one tight end spot, and there's a very limited supply of tight ends. So what I did is I focused my draft on making sure I got the best tight end, which was Travis Kelce. And I considered him in a tier by himself. And because of that, this was an auction league as well, so I was willing to pay a little bit more for him. Let me bring up the thing here where it talks about how much I paid for him. And get this out of the way. If I go to player history, it tells me how much I paid, which was $42 of my draft money. All right, so for me, I knew I had a keeper. I kept Aaron Jones. He was my keeper. So I figured if I could get another really solid running back and Travis Kelce, that would put me in a pretty good position to succeed, because Kelce would give me an extra 5 to 10 points every week over my opponent. He hasn't been lights out this year, but he's still been, if we look at their ranks, let's actually do the research right now here. If we go to tight ends and we look at the season total for tight ends, we want to switch this to all players. And you go filter it. He's still 10 points above the next closest tight end, which is Mark Andrews. And then he's 20 points ahead of the third place tight end, which is Mike Gesicki. And actually, this isn't sorted by points, so let me sort it by points. Yeah, those still apply. So TJ Hawkinson actually is third place. So it's not as big of an advantage as I thought it might be, but still Travis Kelce is definitely the best tight end in fantasy football. And so because of that, I was willing to pay a little bit more for him in the draft. And so for my running backs, I also was willing to pay top dollar for a second running back. So Derrick Henry was a keeper. I couldn't get my hands on him. So I kept Aaron Jones, who's top 4 this year, and I drafted Austin Eckler, so I was able to get him in my auction draft for 49. So he was still pricey, but you pay for what you pay for, right? And then what that meant was I didn't have as much money left over for the rest of my team, but I knew I was going to get a quarterback for $1. I knew I'd get a defense for $1, and I knew I'd get a kicker for $1. So that just left me some money to spend on wide receivers. So looking at what I did for my draft, this will be the last thing we'll go over here. Draft results. It'll show pretty well what I spent. I'll go to team here. So of my $200, let me find my team. Oh yeah, so here we are, Gridiron Glory. So I got Michael Thomas for $10, which was a waste, but that's fine. Kelsey 42, Eckler 49. I was able to get some decent receivers for a relatively cheap price. So I got Adam Thielen, who's been solid this year, for 13. Antonio Brown for 5. Trey Sermon, I actually dropped for 9. Tyler Boyd's been okay. Will Fuller hasn't played much this year. Kirk Cousins, Tyler Bass, I've kept both of them for $1. Mooney, I should have kept him, but I didn't. I dropped David Johnson. I dropped the New York defense. I dropped Cole Beasley. And then my keeper was Aaron Jones. So I actually had $2 left over. But the strategies worked so far. I'm in first place. It's highly dependent on these guys not getting injured, right? So they haven't been injured yet, which has been great. When I look at the other teams here, well, we're not going to do that right now. So anyway, for draft, look for advantages that you can get early on in the draft and have a plan going in, and then stick with it and be willing to compromise if you need to. If someone was willing to go up to like $60 for Austin Eckler, I wouldn't probably have gotten him. I would have gotten someone else maybe. I would have tried to get Kamara. I would have tried to get Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. I probably wouldn't have gotten him because I didn't think he'd be as good as he is this season. So anyway, when we're talking about drafting, when you're talking about getting ready, do some prep, do some planning. That's going to help you out in the long term. All right, that's it for today. I'll talk to everybody tomorrow.